Welcome to Kung Fu for Health and Self-Defense. When most people think of a powerful fighter, automatically visions of a pre-Neanderthal-like male specimen come to mind. Most people don't realize that over the past 3,000-year history of the Oriental fighting arts, that the ladies have made great contributions to its heritage and development. In ancient times, a woman could be put in the position as protector of home and family against marauding bandits. Some women even went on to found their own fighting systems. The yielding force and use of intellect over brawn, characteristic of the Chinese arts, can often be better grasped by a woman. These self-defense methods and other related skills are represented here today by a most talented woman, my guest, Carrie Ogawa Wong. Welcome to the show, Carrie.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me to come.
You stay very active as the assistant instructor for your husband, Douglas Wong, at his Panorama City School. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Okay. My background in the martial arts actually started from dancing. I had danced from 4 to about 14. Going on 15, I got wrapped up in school. My cousin had joined a karate school. So I, being bored, not having a lot to do after school, and after being so physical for all those years, I was trying to look for something to replace it. And at that time, aerobics wasn't the in thing. People were just starting aerobics. Gyms were too expensive for someone my age to join. So I went and watched the class. I started in karate simply because of the body discipline, the mental, the physical discipline I really liked, and the forms were a lot like dances. So from there, I became a little bored again. There was just not enough activity. Little forms, a little sparring. I found some articles on Kung Fu which featured Douglas Wong. So in visiting the Los Angeles area and visiting various schools, I ended up there, moved to Los Angeles, studied Kung Fu where I am now. I authored a book called Body Toning, A New Direction in Women's Exercise. And I've appeared on a tribute to Bruce Lee, a Channel 13 special that they did. And I also did Our Magazine with Gary Collins.
Yeah, that is quite active for sure. Most programs on women's self-defense, they cover the physical methods, realistic or not, but they don't prepare the students mentally. Do you have some common sense tips that you wanted to give the viewers?
I sure do. I think one problem with women when they take a self-defense class is they're expected, or they even expect themselves, to just go out and devastate this 200-pound, 6'5" guy who's going to attack them. Nobody really hits on the points of common sense as far as what I like to teach when I talk to the women is, number one, be aware of where you're going and yourself. Walking to your car. Don't walk to the car with a bag in one hand, your keys in your purse, and you got to put the bag down and you're searching. You're a target. A man that's going to attack a woman is someone who looks vulnerable. If you know you have an appointment and it's feasible for you to take somebody with you, arrange it. Have a friend meet you, go with you to the appointment. If you're having to leave a parking or leave your car and go into a building or go from the building to your car, ask a gentleman. Ask a gentleman to walk you to the car. We had a situation at the school the other night where there was a gentleman who was a little inebriated and was giving the instructors at the door a hard time. He did leave, but we didn't know where he went. So one of the girls just politely asked one of our students, would you mind walking me to the car? Women don't think of those things, especially nowadays. Women's lib, so to speak, and I don't want to sound like I'm not for it. Women's rights, yes, but at times you need the extra help, and it's just walking around a corner. Don't blindly walk around a corner, especially if it's night or if you're not familiar with the area. People walk around a corner and they're startled. Well, it could be somebody ready to jump you, and then what? So I really believe that, that plays a lot of importance.
Yes, that is some really good advice. Many students, men and women, they want to learn the advanced movements of Kung Fu, but when it comes to the basic physical exercise, they want to skip over that.
Right.
So can you stress the importance of conditioning in the martial arts?
For myself, most of my training has been conditioning. At our school, we believe in a lot of conditioning, especially for the women. We try to make them do as much of the physical activity as the men. We don't really separate them out. If you, as a woman, become aware of what your body is capable of doing for your size, weight, height, and your physical strength, you're much better off. Like I say, if you think you're supposed to do these movements like your instructor, well, our instructor at the school, 5'10", 190, okay, my size, I'm not going to be able to do the same movements maybe as smooth or exactly the way he shows them. So by doing the conditioning, building the arms, push-ups, doing some sit-ups to tighten up stomach, the legs, and that sort of thing. I'm going to do some conditioning later on in the program. And what I like to do also is show how the conditioning relates with certain movement. A lot of times that helps a woman where a man, they're used to fighting and being tossed around, and a woman isn't. She's a little bit more fragile in certain areas. So conditioning, the breathing, all of that like goes hand in hand.
Right. Many women, they have the idea they're going to go into martial arts class and be pampered, that they're not going to have to be treated the same as a man. I remember watching you in class getting out there with the one-arm push-ups like any Marine could do, you know.
I
And,
try.
it was very impressive. Also, you've been ranked nationally in tournament competition, in both
Right.
hand forms and weapons. And how can preparing for a tournament benefit a martial artist?
Well, most of the tournaments that they have around the area are running like every weekend, or they'll have maybe once a month out of town. The good thing about training for tournaments is it always keeps you in a good physical condition. You can't really slack off your training when you know something's coming up. It's like all athletes. You really have to be training all the time, physically as well as mentally. And I think tournament training mentally has helped me a lot because I know what's coming up. I know what's expected of me. The physical training I really enjoy, so it's been fairly easy. The mental has a lot to do with it because when you present yourself out there, you're on stage. You're the main performer. You're being judged on your technique, and you have to look good, and you have to feel confident. And that also ties in with the self-defense aspect. If you're confident with yourself and your movements and so forth, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to train and learn techniques, I think.
Right, right. You're also the mother of a future Kung Fu champion, your son Travis. I know
Yes.
you're very proud of him. And how did your experience in the martial arts help you through your pregnancy?
Well, it helped a lot. I kept practicing all of my training all through the pregnancy. And as I go in for my checkups, the doctor would ask me what I'd be doing, and I would tell him specifically I would be doing my push-ups. And because I had trained years before my pregnancy, he suggested I continue to a certain point, not to exert and get my blood pressure up, or not to be doing a lot of excessive sit-ups and getting punched in the stomach, that sort of thing. But I was able to train up until the day that I had Travis. We were on the way to the school, in fact, when I went into labor, but it helped the labor. I had a 4-hour labor, no medication. It was very easy, and I recovered very quick.
Hopefully when Travis starts school, he won't go around saying, my mommy can beat up your daddy.
I hope not.
And now Carrie, with the help of some of her students, will demonstrate theories and techniques of the White Lotus system. And I think you ladies will find this especially interesting.
What I'd like to do for the demonstration part of the program is to take you through some basic conditioning exercises that we teach at the school, and exercises that are also found in my book, Body Toning. I'll try to do the exercise and then show you some practical application as far as what you can use it for in training your exercises. And then later on, I have some assistants who will do some actual self-defense techniques for you. I'd like to start first with what we call a horse stance. The Chinese use horses in their development for working the lower half of the body, especially the legs. So the first and most basic stance we start with is called a square horse. It should depict actually someone who would be on horseback. As you can see from the stance, the feet are parallel, heels pushed out, posture back is straight. Your focus should be on a spot in front of you. Focus during your exercise is very important to help train you mentally. Also, we're working on our knees. You have to push your knees over your toes. So what you're actually doing is building up whole total leg muscle rather than just, maybe the quads and that's it. In this position, we've had runners and dancers, you name it, we've had it. They come in, they stand like 3 seconds. I can't do this because the body in the beginning starts to vibrate a lot, because you find you're using muscles that you don't use every day. What the Chinese horses do are develop the internal muscles within the legs first, and then it works out for the external muscles. So you're not going to get very bulky legs. In the beginning, you're going to find maybe the legs get a little puffy. Okay, the muscles really will fill with a lot of blood, but that goes away and the legs tone and slim down very easily. What I like to do is using this position, use some upper body techniques, what the Chinese call dynamic tension. This is where you use one muscle group against another, mainly an extensor versus a flexor. So think about pushing against something and having somebody push against you is the technique. The Western culture has used this a lot recently in their isometric exercises. What we do is we use the breathing along with the technique, and you can build a lot of muscle tone without losing flexibility, which a lot of people are afraid of, and especially women, the bulk. You're not going to get very bulky. The first one is called a finger thrust, and it starts here, pushing out with the fingers, halfway the arms pop, and the elbows crack. And then you pull the hands forward, and as you can see, they're very tight, and they're going to shake a little. And then you drop the hands, and you pull in. And as you do the breathing with this, you exhale, you pop the hands, and you continue exhaling to control the breath, and then you inhale. Okay, you can see as I'm doing the exercise, the upper body is getting a lot of workout, as well as the legs. So in a lot of exercise classes, they'll do a certain amount of exercises for the upper body, then they'll do the lower body. Well, one part of the body is getting cold all the time, and that's very dangerous. That's why people get strained muscles, backs, and so forth. What this part of the exercise is good for is as you're pushing, think about striking someone. Women don't realize when it comes to hitting a body what it's going to be like. What this trains you for is if somebody comes up, you're able to palm strike them in the solar plex, in the chest, side of the face, or whatever. This way you're also using both hands. A lot of people go, well, I'm going to get attacked from the right side. Well, the one time it's on the left side, you're going to be on the ground and good night. Okay. The next exercise from square horse position is called dynamic hand grips. And what this is, it's just dynamic tension. You start with the hands in front of your body, fisted, and then you slowly just turn them down. Try to get a full rotation as far as you can and tight as you can. And the breathing is just very, very regulated. Slower the better. You can do 4 or 5 of these for one breath if that's what the body will allow you to do. What this exercise is very, very good for, someone grabs your hand. By doing this, you know and you can feel what muscle groups you're going to need to get away from that grab. Okay, a lot of times people will say, well, just do this. Well, by just following, sometimes you don't realize what part of your body you need to be utilizing. So by doing this, you can feel a good set of exercise. Forearm, the bicep, the shoulders, and even your lateral muscles are getting very, very toned, and you're using them also. A woman has to realize when she's doing exercise, she's going to have to use full body to compensate for a lot of the body mass we don't have and some of the strength. Okay? I'd like to go down and show you some very, very basic push-ups that we do at our school. And this is for upper body training. When we do the push-ups, we don't allow the students to use their toes like a conventional push-up, but we try to use the instep. What this does, it forces all of the weight onto the shoulders and the upper body, so you're actually pressing the full amount of your body weight. If you learn to do that, it's going to be a lot easier to use your whole weight when you strike someone. We also, once we have the body up in a push-up position, we have the students do what we call a layered push-up, which is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like this. Okay, what the layered push-up essentially does, it teaches you 3 ranges of striking. A guy's not going to come up and grab you long-armed. If he does, that's fine, but what if he pulls you in tight? Some women get in tight, they don't know how to maneuver and hit, but by doing the 3-layer push-up, you feel where your body is, how the muscle is extended or contracted, and what you're going to have to utilize at that time. Another one we do is called a slant, which is right side and left side, hip and shoulder down. And this is very effective for being grabbed and having to turn your body, okay? You actually can feel all the weight on one side. Your whole body, again, is going to get a good workout because your legs have to be locked back and stable. Now, after doing a lot of upper body exercise, you will tend to feel a little bit tight, and again, you don't want to get bulky. So we use an 18-inch stick. It can be, any hardwood is really good. We do exercises. You can do them standing or in the square horse position. All you do is reverse the hand grip. Try to keep them close together in the beginning. If you're fairly tight, you want to split them out. But you'll push and you'll lift it. And you can just go up and down in this position until you loosen up. As you get looser, you want to take it all the way up and behind your head as far as you can. Okay? This will loosen up the shoulders, and you can also see it has a good wrist effect. And then we do one just for the wrist and the arms by grabbing and loosening up one wrist at a time. Okay, besides keeping your flexibility, what this allows you to do is, again, if you're grabbed, learn to twist out of it, reverse the grab. That's another technique that's really good. When you are attacked, the man doesn't expect you to fight back. So if you're able to reverse, grab him back, and then go in, you might surprise him and he may leave you alone. Hopefully he'll leave you alone. Okay, another training device we have is a can, and we use this with our sit-ups. And we pull the feet, heels into the can, gripping in tight so that we're working the inside of our legs so we can develop our kicks and our lower abdomen. And then we'll just do layered sit-ups, 3 layers like we do our push-ups. Okay, another one we'll do is in a tucked position, holding the can, balancing and pressing the legs, and also pressing the can. Holding the can to work the upper body. And by doing the V-ups, you're also working your hip region for kicks and for getting away from your opponent. Okay, what I'd like to do is to have Debbie come out, and we're going to go through some very basic self-defense technique. What I'll do is I'll explain to you slowly the movements to get out of the attacks and the maneuvering she's going to do. Then I'll have Debbie go ahead and do it. So if you can come on out. Debbie is my muggy, and I'll have my mugger come out. Okay, a lot of misconception is done about self-defense. The guy is not going to grab a girl by the collar of her shirt and shake her around. Okay, that's like a John Wayne attack. Basically, a woman is vulnerable, like going to her car, in a hallway or something like that. So that's the first one we're going to do. If Debbie were to be thrown against the wall or the side of her car, what would she do? Okay, she can move with her opponent by pushing the shoulders against the wall, which will help loosen up the push, bending her knees, which helps break, and then spinning away. Now, by doing our layered push-ups and our 3-layer and slants, this helps you work your shoulders so you can feel that movement. So I'll go ahead and have Ed come out. And this is how it should look, basically. Very good, and we can tear down the wall while we're at it. Okay, so you can see Ed throws her against the wall, and she's able to spin out no problem. Her hands are up, she's ready. If that means dropping your purse, forget the purse. We can get a new license and get a new credit card. But she's ready to fight back, and that's a real important part I believe in. The next one we're going to do is, as you're leaving an area, people can come behind you and you're just not aware. That's why I say be prepared. Be aware of what's around you, okay? If Debbie's standing here and somebody comes from the back, what can she do? Rather than, fight and try to get away, the best thing she can do is to move. You cannot hold a moving target. If you have small children, you know it's so hard to hold them while they're doing this mommy down thing. Okay, so you act the same way. As you're doing it, though, you can throw some elbows, and we get those from our slant push-ups. You can do some stomps, a head built with the back of your head, and this will all loosen up the attacker, and you're able to run, or you can turn and go with him. So I'll have Debbie come back out. This is what it's going to look like. Go ahead, you go right from there. Okay, you see by her shaking off, he's not able to get a hold of her. The other important point is, don't ever let an attacker get a hold of you to begin with. If you're going to stand there and go, okay, you got a tight grip, you got me, okay, now I'm going to break out. You've lost the battle. The minute she feels Ed, she shook him off. And then again, she turned around, she faced off with him and is ready to do something. If he continues to come in, that's when our kicks, our strikes to the body come in, okay? And as far as strikes to the body, we talk about vulnerable spots, okay? Not always the groin. First thing a man does when he is attacked is he's going to protect this first, and probably secondly his head. Okay, that leaves the throat, that leaves hips, that leaves solar plex, and not all guys are in good condition. So if you hit them, they're going to fall pretty good. Okay, on the ground, you're at the beach, you're laying in bed, you get attacked. Okay, one of the exercises we do is again going with the person. Once you get down, use a distraction. You can use a headbutt. I like to use the knee because when you knee the guy from behind, throws him off balance, and you almost start throwing him before you have to do any work. Again, when you're on the ground, rather than fighting up against him, you can't. When he's on top of you, his 200 pounds are going to double almost. So rather than pushing against him, you just lay there and go with him. The minute you loosen him up, you're just going to slide your hands on the floor, pulling one down and pushing one up. And just turn over, and then you'll be right on top of him. You can elbow him in the side of the head, go to his solar plexus. You'll be on top of one of his legs. You can knee him in the hip, which is very vulnerable right here. Okay. Okay, you see how effective that is. Again, she doesn't wait a half hour for him to get on top of her and say, I'm going to rape you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I got a knife. The minute the guy's on top, she reacts. And that's the whole part of it. Some very basic techniques we have are being grabbed, a simple hand grab. Okay, I'll go through it slow so you can see the basic techniques. The minute you feel the hand, and here's where our wrist loosening exercises come in. Turn to loosen up. I'm going against his thumb, which is on most men fairly tight. This hand is used to check or push to get the hand loosened. Cross kick to the shin. You can step down on the foot or step here as I step down, lifting the back heel to get me in closer. I hit to the head. I can punch. I can do what we call a leopard into the neck. Okay? Any one of those techniques. And again, this is from our 3-layer push-up. This shows the range that we're going to need. So the minute he comes in and grabs. Okay, now by kicking to his shin, you can loosen him up a lot. If you feel that it's too strong of an attack, go ahead and go for his knee, because the knee will not take very much, okay? The next one, let's turn this way. Okay, again from a grab position. I don't like a lot of grab techniques because they're not real. This is one that could happen. If you were talking or swinging your arms and the guy happened to reach and grab it, okay? Going here, pushing against it, I'm reversing and holding him now, taking him down. Okay, and if you want to chicken bone his arm, you can, okay? And that just about does it, and I hope you enjoyed the program.
At the modern day woman. Anyways, it's so old, this stuff. People say, well, it's outdated. Well, how can it be part of our 20th century American society?
Well, I think it's real important for today's woman, so to speak, by getting your body in conditioning, being aware, getting everything together. We have a motto at our school called mind, the body, and the spirit. And I think just saying those 3 words kind of ties everything together as far as you getting into condition and being ready. I'd like my assistants to salute out.
Okay. I have one more word before the salute. That's right. The Chinese methods of self-defense are particularly well suited to a woman and children, as they rely on the use of physics rather than brute strength. The woman can express herself artistically as well as relieve daily stress through kung fu practice. After all, the more happy and healthy a mind and body is, the better someone can channel their energies to a maximum of whatever endeavor one undertakes. And now with Travis in the starting position here, the kung fu salute. Ready?
Salute.